Forget about the AP poll. The college football playoff poll is here, and 4 Big Ten teams would be in the college football playoffs if they started today. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, the playoff poll, we're going to get into it, the seedings, how all that would work. Plus, we'll have our players of the week. Southern Cal's making a change at quarterback. We've got maybe some Heisman hype for Kaleb Johnson, and Nebraska's adding a new coach to the staff. Interesting. Plus, our power rankings, speaking of rankings, all that coming up. Let's get to it. As Fox broadcaster Gus Johnson likes to say during his Big Ten football broadcast, here we go. The College Football Playoff Committee issued its first weekly college football playoff rankings that will ultimately determine the 12 teams that will participate in the new college football playoff format. Power 4 champions and the highest ranking group of 5 team will get 5 of the 12 spots. The rest of the at-large bids, including or not including Notre Dame, looks like it'll be including Notre Dame, will make up the other 7 spots. And the Big Ten and the SEC planning on duking out for those final spots. As it is, 4 Big Ten teams, 3 SEC as we stand today. Still plenty of football to get to. So the rankings today, I was stunned as they came out yesterday how closely they mirrored the AP Top 25. Usually there's some mixing up, moving and matching, but almost identical to the AP Top 25. Oregon is the overall number 1 team, Big Ten team. Ohio State is number 2, Georgia 3. That's the only difference between the AP poll. Now, I will point out in the AP poll that Ohio State was a close third. I mean, they were almost tied with Georgia at number 2. So the college football playoff polls, Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, 2 Big Ten teams right at the top, Georgia 3, Miami at 4, Texas at 5, Penn State at 6, both in the AP and the college football poll. Tennessee at 7, Indiana at 8, and including the college football poll. There was some question as to whether Indiana would be in the mix because they haven't beat anybody that's ranked, but they're undefeated and they've been blowing people out, and the committee recognized that. So 4 Big Ten teams, Indiana in there at number 8, BYU 9, Notre Dame 10, Alabama 11, and Boise State 12. Those are all the same as they were in the AP poll. First couple teams out, 13, SMU at 8-1. Texas A&M is at 7-2 at number 14. So they also, in addition to recognizing Indiana's blowout wins, the question would be SEC teams with 2 losses. Would they get any favorable treatment? Well, Alabama's in. That's it. A&M is on the outside. LSU on the outside. All these teams, they're further back. So if we take those rankings 1 through 12, now that's not how they're seeded in the playoffs. Division conference champions of the Power 4 get the first 4 byes, and then the group of 5 highest rated 1 champion, they get the 5th spot. So, and I'll explain. For example, Oregon gets a bye, Georgia gets a bye, Miami gets a bye, BYU gets a bye. Well, what about Ohio State? They're the second-ranked team. Well, they're not the highest-ranked team in the conference. It goes to Oregon. So they're actually going to have a number 5 seed in the playoffs if the season ended today. So with those 4 teams getting their byes, here's how the playoffs would shake out if the season ended today. Ohio State will be a 5 seed and hosting, can you imagine a playoff game at the Shoe, hosting 12 seed Boise State. Indiana would be a 9 seed in the playoffs against 8 seed Tennessee. Again, even though IU's ranked 8th and Tennessee's ranked 7th. That's just how the seedings would go in the playoffs. Alabama would be at Texas. That'd be a great game right there. Notre Dame would be at Penn State. Penn State would get a home football game. So the winner of Boise State, Ohio State would play BYU. The winner of Indiana, Tennessee would play Oregon. The winner of Alabama, Texas would take on Miami. And the winner of Notre Dame, Penn State would take on Georgia. So there you have it. That's our first round. We're going to update this. They're going to update these rankings every week now until we get to the end of the season and set up the college football playoffs. That's how it would look today. Obviously, the Oregon Ducks were rewarded. They have dominated the college football spotlight or been under the spotlight with their undefeated record and the quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, who's on pace, obviously, to be a Heisman finalist. Hardest part of the Ducks schedule is behind them, highlighted with a key 1-point win over Ohio State a few weeks ago. So all this is well-deserved. And a more pressing issue, though, for Oregon is the availability of wide receiver Tez Johnson, who injured his shoulder against Michigan this past Saturday. Good news is he will not require surgery and is not a season ender. And I think they are looking at him to, best case scenario, probably come back for the season finale against Washington or the Big Ten championship game, which I think is a more likely scenario. And the Ohio State Buckeyes bouncing back from their loss against Oregon and a shaky outing, but a win over Nebraska, and then going into Penn State and winning. So like a 1-point loss to the number 1 team at their place, then beating Penn State, a highly ranked team. Ohio State has been rewarded here with the number 2 spot. So, and you know what? It was impressive the way they won at Penn State with some power football. The offensive line is piecemeal because they've had a lot of injuries, and yet they probably had their best game of the year with it in the trenches and the running game and all that. The Buckeyes still have a date against ranked Indiana. Going to be interesting to see how that goes. They got their season finale against Michigan, and you never know how that could go because it's a crazy rivalry game. But with that Penn State win, Ryan Day and company are back in the Big Ten race. Penn State fans feel like the sky's falling a little bit. They can never beat Ohio State. But the fact is, they can get right back on the bandwagon because the Nittany Lions are a bona fide playoff team, as these rankings suggest. Plus, Drew Aller showing no ill effects from his knee injury suffered a couple weeks ago against Wisconsin. And while fans are mad at Coach James Franklin for failing to beat Ohio State or failing to beat a top 5 team, again, they are going to be more upset with the annual whiteout game this weekend being on a paywall, behind a paywall for pay-per-view on Peacock and against Washington this weekend. I can guarantee you that. But these are all minor things to be upset about. Penn State is a very good football team. They keep riding the course. They're going to be into the playoffs. There's the 9-0 Indiana Hoosiers. They always win. They never trail. With the exception of 12 minutes versus Michigan State this weekend. That was it. Then they scored 47 unanswered points. They blow people out. Their closest win has been a 14-point win. They dominate on offense. They dominate on defense. They dominate on special teams. Now, they haven't played a ranked team all year, but the committee has recognized their dominance. The one team they played that used to be ranked was Nebraska. They were not ranked when they played Indiana, and Indiana beat them 56-7. They got Michigan this weekend, another team that used to be ranked but isn't anymore. Indiana's a 2-touchdown favorite in that game, by the way. So following an upcoming bye after the Michigan game, they can go to Ohio State. They could be, if they beat Michigan this weekend, they'll be 10-0 going into Ohio State. That'll be the game of the year in the Big Ten. We have so many games of the year in the Big Ten, whether it be Ohio State versus Oregon, Ohio State versus Penn State, Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State. I guess Ohio State's involved in a lot of big games. So anyway, that'd be another great exclamation point for Indiana if they could pull off that game at Ohio State. Would love your comments on all of this. All you fan bases out there on YouTube, hit me up. Plus a programming note for all of you. We will do our live Locked On Big Ten YouTube channel broadcast immediately following the Michigan-Indiana game this weekend. It should end just before 7 p.m. Eastern or 4 o'clock Pacific. And we'll have immediate reaction from me on that game and all the other games throughout the day in the Big Ten. Plus, your live chat comments are huge on those. We always like that. And, of course, reaction to the rest of the Big Ten action over the weekend. Also, want to invite you to subscribe. If you haven't done, if you watch it every day or you watch once in a while, I'm going to ask you to subscribe for free on YouTube. check that out. And that way you'll get these podcasts as soon as they become available each and every day. They're always free for forever. So I always ask you to do that. And also ask you to share with your friends as well. If you have Big Ten friends, let them know we're out here each and every day on Locked On Big Ten. And also, you can go to our website, talkbig10.com. That's where we put all of our podcasts. You want to go back and catch up. We group them by your favorite school. We also have links for you if you ever are in the mood to buy some team school spirit from your favorite school, merchandise, hats, shirts, T-shirts, all that, Christmas shopping for your favorite Big Ten fan in the family, all that at our website, Talk Big Ten. Feel free to check that out as well. All right, we got a lot to do. I still want to cover here. Nebraska got a new football coach on the staff. Interesting take on that. Plus Heisman hype over Iowa's Kaleb Johnson, new quarterback at USC, and our own power rankings. Forget about the college football playoff rankings. We have our own. That's all coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. You know, guys, if you ever feel a need for a little boost in the bedroom, it's time to stop worrying about your performance and get Hims so you can feel confident whenever you're in the mood. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your own couch. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. These products mentioned are chewable compound products, which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. And FanDuel, get ready to tackle NFL action every weekend. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 on 150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook, the app, it gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, want to check out some stats, some scores, it's all right there in the same place where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 of bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Visit FanDuel.com. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, and if you watch us once in a while, join us more often. We're here every day. Meanwhile, if you want to subscribe on YouTube, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day, please do. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. USC has struggled, and now they're making a change at quarterback. Lincoln Riley is benching Miller Moss and replacing him with UNLV transfer Jaden Maeva. Moss has thrown 7 interceptions in his last 5 games. The Trojans lost 4 of 5 and are 4-5 overall. They host Nebraska after a bye November 16th. James Franklin's still getting questions about Penn State's recent loss to Ohio State. That's going to go on for a while. Specifically, he was asked, why did he not use everything secret weapon tight end Ty Warren on the goal to go scenario, potentially to tie the game? Franklin says, yeah, you know what? Good question. I get it. He recounted how they used running back Karen Allen to run the ball 3 times and then passed once. In fact, Penn State got inside the 3-yard line a couple times and came up with 0 points in those drives. One of them, Davison Igbinosun, with Ohio State, unbelievable interception. Otherwise, Penn State would have had points there. Warren has thrown for a touchdown. He's rushed for touchdowns. He's received touchdowns this year. He's done everything. There's nothing that the oversized former high school quarterback can't do. But whether it was the Buckeyes defense or Penn State's sudden lack of creativity with the play calling, which would be very unlike them. I like what Andy Kolonicki's done. Warren was held to 4 catches of 47 yards and 3 rushes for 47 yards on Saturday. So Matt Rhule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers are adding Dana Holgorsen to their staff. Yeah, familiar name with college football. He had been consulting with TCU, and he'll have a similar evolving role with the Huskers. Nebraska's on a 3-game skid right now. Their offense has struggled during that time. Their offense is ranked 100th in college football, and Holgorsen, he's been ahead. Here's where you know his name. He's been a head coach at Houston and West Virginia. He's worked with quarterbacks like Geno Smith, Case Keenum, and Brandon Whedon. And there's been some criticism of the Huskers offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, over the past 2 seasons. And of course, this season they had high expectations with freshman phenom Dylan Raiola, who started off great, but the whole offense is kind of slumping a little bit. So we'll see if Dana Holgorsen could put another set of eyes on the situation there at Nebraska. We talk about Heisman hype all the time and Heisman odds on this podcast, and Oregon quarterback Dylan Raiola, that's Nebraska quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, and to some extent, Indiana quarterback Curtis Rourke. They get a lot of attention, but as far as running backs go, Ashton Jeanty from Boise State seems to be the best running back in the country with over 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. But what about Iowa's Kaleb Johnson? He has almost 1,300 yards, and he also has 20 touchdowns. And I would argue that Johnson's run has been against a more difficult schedule in the Big Ten, and he's done it on an offense that rarely throws for more than 100 yards per game. Opposing defenses know Johnson's getting the ball, and he's still successful. Part of the problem for Johnson's prospects, despite the fact that he is on national TV more than Jeanty, Iowa doesn't seem to be promoting or marketing Johnson much. And, I'll be the first one to tell you that, Kirk Ferentz doesn't pay a lot of attention to rankings and lists and all that stuff. He'll be the first one to tell you that as well. He just focuses on the task at hand. Next game up, and he thinks that the rankings and the rewards will take care of themselves. And, there's something to be said about that approach. Obviously, Ferentz has won a lot of games that way. But maybe the athletic department could start promoting this young man a little bit. He is a superstar. It's really, really good. The Heisman is supposed to represent the best player in college football. That award quit representing that a long time ago. By and large, it has gone to the best quarterback on the best team. Former Ohio State Buckeyes coach Urban Meyer and football analyst with Fox, Urban Meyer, was recently asked who he thinks the best player in the country is, and he didn't even hesitate. He does not think it's a Big Ten player, and he watches a lot of Big Ten football live every Saturday. He thinks it's Colorado running back and defensive back Travis Hunter. Two-way star, said he would drop that guy number 1 right now in the NFL draft. All right, offensive players of the week in the Big Ten. Congratulations. We just talked about Kaleb Johnson at Iowa, the running back. And here's why I'm talking Heisman. He just tallied his 7th 100-yard rushing game, 135 yards, 24 attempts, and 3 touchdowns in Iowa's 42-10 win over Wisconsin. And he found the end zone for the 9th straight game. It's the longest streak in school history. He has 3 games with 3 rushing touchdowns, 20 total, as we said, tying Sean Green's school record, while his 120 points are also tied for the school record. By the way, the last Iowa Offensive Player of the Week honoree was back in September. It was Kaleb Johnson. He's just tearing it up all year. He's great. The Defensive Player of the Week in the Big Ten goes to Carson Bruner at Washington. The senior linebacker led the Huskies to the 26-21 win over longtime rival USC. Had a couple pass breakups. Led both teams with 12 tackles, 5 more than any other player, actually. Notched 2 interceptions. That's the thing I am impressed, because he made it our top 10 Big Ten observations on Monday. Notched 2 interceptions in the game. The first came in the early opening quarter and led to a Washington field goal and a 3-0 lead. A second interception was in the third quarter that led to Washington scoring the game's final touchdown to move in front 26-21. It was key. So, and that's Washington's first ever Defensive Player of the Week award in the Big Ten, because they're new to the Big Ten. Special Teams Player of the Week, Dragan Kesich from Minnesota, their senior kicker, 4 for 4 on field goals from 20, 45, 38, and 46 yards at Minnesota's 25-17 win over Illinois. I was very impressed with them. Won 4 in a row now. He becomes the 5th kicker in Gopher history with multiple games of 4+ made field goals. While his 4 made field goals ties a career high and ties for the 3rd most in Gopher history. His 13 points with 4 field goals and an extra point at Illinois, a career high, bringing his career total to 36 made field goals, passing Brent Berglund, who had 35 for 8th in program history. By the way, he was Kesich was the last Minnesota Special Teams Player of the Week, did it in October of 2023. And finally, we have our freshman of the week, Quasi Gilmer from UCLA. The wide receiver out there from Los Angeles posted a career-high 88 receiving yards on 3 catches as UCLA defeated Nebraska on the road 27-20. Reeled in his first career touchdown in the second half, a 48-yarder from Ethan Garbers. And that also marked a career best with the 48 yards. And he is the first UCLA freshman of the week in the Big Ten, again, because they're new. All right, we talked a lot about rankings earlier here today with college football rankings and the AP Top 25 rankings. On Wednesdays, middle of the week, we like to do our own power rankings in the Big Ten, the Big Ten standings as we see them. We'll share it with you. We'll see if you agree with my opinion. That is coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Z-Biotics. Let me tell you about this exciting product. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted to a toxic byproduct in the gut. And it's this byproduct, not dehydration, that makes you feel not so great the next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. And just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night, then drink responsibly, and then you'll feel your best the next day. So check it out. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and learn more, and also get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege at checkoff for 15% off. It's 15% off Z-Biotics. And you want some tickets? Game Time. Get the Game Time app on your device, your phone. You want tickets to anything? Go there at Game Time. And I'm talking sporting events, Big Ten football, Big Ten basketball, NBA. If you want to go to a concert, comedy show, if it needs a ticket, get the Game Time app and you can get it right there on your phone. They have all-in pricing, no surprises at the end. Seat views, get a panoramic view of the seat from the ticket you're about to buy. And they got their lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference on the price. So check that out. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right. We got our power rankings here. I want to put them up on screen. If you're audio only, we'll describe them here. We do this every Wednesday. We're going to feature at the end of every podcast at the end of the week. And the Wednesdays is always power rankings, and we'll do it through the football season here. So let's put it on full screen. Look at that. Look at that. Of course, we've got Oregon at number 1. Bit of a shakeup this week. Got the Indiana Hoosiers at number 2. Both Oregon and Indiana are ahead of the pack in the standings at 9-0. Why not? Got a big game coming up against our third-ranked team, Ohio State, in a couple of weeks, and that will prove who belongs in that slot. So Oregon 1, Indiana 2, Ohio State 3. Penn State falls to 4 after losing to Ohio State. Got the Iowa Hawkeyes, who are playing, I think, really well right now, at number 5. And Washington's getting better. If they can just get a game on the road here, that would really help out. I got them in our top 6. And the Minnesota Golden Gophers, winners of 4 in a row, number 7. Illinois is fading a little bit, down at number 8. They fell out of the top 25, as did Michigan a couple weeks ago at number 9. And I'm going to put the Huskers in at number 10. Although if they don't snap this skid, they may fall further. I had high hopes for Nebraska this year, and they are sliding. USC is sliding. We mentioned the quarterback change earlier. They're number 11. Wisconsin, they show some signs of coming back and becoming something. They just can't put it all together, but I have them at 12 with respect, I might add. Michigan State at number 13 and Maryland at 14. And then we got the best of the rest, as we like to say, Northwestern at 15, and we got Rutgers at 16. Rutgers also a disappointing season. I had high expectations for them, especially after their 4-0 start. UCLA's won a couple in a row. We might have to bump them out of this 17 spot. And Purdue, this is tough. Purdue, it's tough. They belong there. 18. They are the bottom of the Big Ten. They are happy the basketball season is starting. They had the first game the other night. Got a win. Purdue back. They got another 7-4 dude now that Zach Edey's gone. Yeah. Let's keep recruiting tall guys over there. Anyway, those are our Big Ten football power rankings we do in the middle of each week. Tell me if you agree or disagree with those. If you switch them, let me know. I'll keep it under advisement for next week when we do it. In the meantime, we are getting closer and closer to all the action. We'll take a closer look at Michigan and Indiana. That's a big game this weekend. We'll look at that. We'll go live after that game, by the way, on this podcast as well. Many ways for you to interact with me. Twitter, X, at Talk Big Ten. Our website, talkbig10.com, with our podcast, school merchandise, everything right there if you want to check that out. And also comments right here on YouTube. And we always ask you, if you don't mind, it's free. If you just hit the subscribe button, that'd be great. That helps us out. And then, when we're putting out podcasts every single day, you can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app for free. And you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. That'll do it. I can't wait till we meet again tomorrow. Tell a friend about us. I'm Craig Shemon for Locked On Big Ten. Talk to you next time.